Hello and welcome to Rogue Artisans and Crafters, two-time winner of the Southern Oregon Television Awards for Best Arts and Culture Show. I'm your host, David Glamour Dave Nienow. We welcome you, our viewer, to our 2019 season of new shows where we explore the lives of artists here in Southern Oregon, talk about their work, their art process, and we happen to have today, we're exploring the art of glass art as a medium, and I have the privilege of featuring local artist Brenda Kelley. Brenda is an artist who explores the craft of stained glass as her art media of choice. I discovered Brenda in my online searches when I decided that I wanted to explore the art of glass as an art medium here on Rogue Artisans and Crafters, and I was very impressed with what I saw of her stained glass work online. And so today I'm pleased to talk to Brenda Kelley about her life as an artist and the work that she pursues today with her art of stained glass. And so we welcome Brenda to the show.
Hello.
So welcome, Brenda.
Thank you.
So Brenda, I typically start off the show by asking each of my artists, how long have you been working as a professional artist and what attracted you to the stained glass art that you do today?
Okay. I've been at stained glass as a working function and having my own business for about 17 years.
Okay.
And I learned the craft from my ex-husband, who came from a stained glass family. They were one of the top 3 in the nation for church art glass.
Okay.
And they came from Ireland originally. And my ex, he came over when he was 3 years old, and his father had learned there in Ireland from Harry Clark, who's comparable to Louis Tiffany here.
Okay. Yeah. And so so you marry your husband, and he's got this family history of stained glass.
I jumped right in as an artist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in the middle of it in no time, and we were doing work for his brother.
Yeah, and you know, in learning the craft, I mean, I did a little bit of stained glass with my mother when we took a class in college back in the 80s.
Yes.
So I have a little bit of familiarity with the process. But you know, you've been at this now for a long time, and so what's like the kind of length of learning curve in learning the craft? I mean, to really kind of learn it well.
My experience in teaching assistants is that for them to be able to be all on their own and be good, if they stick with it and stick with me, is 6 years.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know why it's that number, but it just is. You know, it seems to me that the people that I've taught that have gotten really well,
Right.
that was the turning point for them, when I could just turn them loose and
Yeah.
go, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when my mother and I took the class, I mean, you know, we were dealing with small kinds of stained glass, simple kinds of stained glass.
Yeah.
projects.
Sun catchers.
Yeah, you know.
Little small,
Yeah.
8x11s.
But it was certainly a neat craft to kind of get introduced to.
Yeah.
And you know, and I took like, you know, art history classes in my day. And so I know that like stained glass as a medium, it's been around for literally hundreds of years, because you can go to these, you know, the cathedrals of Europe that are hundreds of years old, and they have incredible, you know, stained glass in their installations.
Yeah, and my understanding is that's how they taught the illiterate in churches.
Yes.
Is with pictures of, you know, the different stations of the cross and all of that.
Yeah, they would use.
Church plays a big part in stained glass.
Yeah, and so they use the stained glass depictions of disciples and
The
various
saint, yes.
figures of saints, and used the pictures, the stained glass creations, as teaching tools
Yep.
to the general public.
Yep.
Yeah. And the thing that always struck me about cathedral stained glass depictions is their ability to render and create so much detail in the figures, right? And I've always been fascinated by that part of stained glass, what that process must be.
Well, stained glass is literally what where actually that term even came from, is actually painting on the glass to create all of the folds and gowns
Yes.
and the faces and any of the church art that I have done.
Right.
You have to paint the faces, like Jesus and the children.
Yes.
You'd paint the faces and the hands, and now these days I do the gowns and the robes and things. I pick and select the glass that would give me that effect. And but back in the day, everything was painted. Every single pane was a lot painted. Some of that work.
Right. Okay. So the glass those installations that we see in the old cathedrals, I'm going to assume then that glass is more like kind of plain glass that is all painted on.
I believe so. I believe that a lot of the older work is that it's stained, and what they've done is you've created pigment out of ground glass and used the other chemicals and the things that you do to break it down to paint it on glass, infuse and fire it in a kiln.
But now, like in today's stained glass, I mean, there are literally just hundreds of selections of colored glass to
Although
select
we've
from.
lost a couple of good factories that were up in Portland because of pollution problems, and so they were bought. Yeah, they were bought and moved to Tijuana.
Really? Okay. So the local pollution
The main one,
issues-
which was Spectrum Glass, which was really a gift to us on the West Coast, and glass is very expensive to ship.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a bugger.
So really the manufacturing process of those different colors and tints of glass are really affected by the manufacturing environment.
And whatever, they have different, I don't know what you call it, but when they make the glass at the factories, they have different sets of things they do. So some of the glass that we used to get, even from Spectrum, even though it's moved there, is still, they've discontinued that line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's really a shame in a way.
It is a shame.
Because you're basically experiencing a loss of certain kinds of artistic materials.
I'm grieving over that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we make do, and glass is still beautiful, and
yeah. I know that other areas of art also kind of have deal with certain kinds of losses of media materials. A while back, I had another artist that was a watercolor artist, and they had lost certain types of watercolor papers. They were no longer being manufactured, right?
Yeah.
And so I found it interesting to learn that arenas of art can experience a loss of materials that are that artists rely upon in their creation process.
Yeah.
And so in the regard of creation process, what is your typical design creation process when you start a stained glass piece?
Well, I start with design.
Yeah.
The design, and I love designing. I was an artist before I started doing stained glass. I've been drawing all my life since I was a little girl. And so I start with the design. I listen to the client, try to give them what they want. I get the design done, and then after the fact, I take into consideration, now this is going to be cut out of glass.
Yes.
And with the lines, and I may have to, correct some things and do some alteration to make it
right
so that I can cut this piece out of stained glass.
Yeah. Now I remember in the past, just kind of doing just a typical pencil kind of a drawing of a pattern, but never having done any color rendering of the patterns before I actually started to do the glass cutting and so on.
Right.
But is doing color rendering, is that something that you will do as part of your design process?
Absolutely. It's really important to me. I don't like the opacity of certain glass. I like to be able to see through most glass.
Right.
and otherwise I believe it's for mosaic, you know, because it's flat.
Yeah.
I want to see the light through it.
Yes, right.
You know, I want to see light transferring through the piece, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one of the unique things about stained glass that's well done, isn't it? Is that the light that comes through has a kind of like a transformative effect to the color patterns in the glass and the whole design.
Yeah.
You know, giving you a certain kind of an effect.
Yeah, and it's beautiful, and it reflects all over a house, you know, and you know that you can be putting up something for privacy, and you'll have just a pattern over the floor.
Yeah, right.
It's just incredibly beautiful, and especially if you incorporate any bevel type things, because that's like a crystal, like if you know how crystals look, cut glass in windows.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that gives, and that has like creating like a three-dimensional
rainbow
know,
effect. Yeah. And then you have that prism rainbow reflection from that, and but the glass itself does that. It's incredible the way it's got many moods, you know.
Yeah.
So from morning sun till even like a porch light at night or moon shining in, the way it looks from inside is another mood, you know, or time of day, as from when the sun is bright and coming right through.
Right.
Yeah.
When you design, take on a design project, are those mood issues kind of become part of the discussion with the client about what kind of an intended effects that you want to put into a piece?
Yeah, I let my clients. I run most of the glass by, you know, my clients. Some really want to be hands-on, and some are just like, I trust you.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
I know, I trust you, and I go, oh, good. Artistic license, yay.
Yeah. Well, we have a slideshow of some examples of your work that you sent my way. So if the control room can begin to bring up those images, and we'll talk about some of these various pieces.
Yeah. That's Hawaiian flowers done by, well, a lot of my clients become my friends, and that's one of a series of 4 Hawaiian flowers. She relocated to Jacksonville, and she wanted to bring it from Hawaii.
Yeah.
And she wanted to bring some Hawaii here with her.
Right.
So I did these windows that they just showcase her grand room opening coming down the stairs.
Right, okay.
Quite beautiful.
All right.
So they're terraced in the wall with reflective light
Okay.
coming through.
Yeah, let's go on to the next.
Those are the orchids,
Yeah.
different, hibiscus. I don't know all of these names.
Yeah.
But,
Now, what about this piece
that's
here?
a red-tailed hawk done for a client here in Ashland, outside of town, and they both love red-tailed hawks, and they're involved in the animal, you know, community and all of that, and so they just love that. And there's a little botanical garden thing going down at the bottom, and it's, you know, it's pretty amazing. They were definitely involved in the selection of that glass.
Yeah. And that's like a detail close-up of the red-tailed hawk. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And then that's like a detail down at like the bottom portion of it. Yeah.
And that's the choo-choo train. That thing was it's about 7 foot long or wide.
Yeah,
actually.
right.
Yeah.
And
only maybe 2 foot high.
And there's another one that follows that's kind of showing the installation.
Shows how huge that is.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that and I looked at it, I think, God, that's got to be like maybe 8, 9 feet long. It looks long.
You know how big those tables are, those fold-up tables.
Yeah.
I was taken in my studio.
Yeah, that looks really cool.
Pre-installation.
Yeah.
And this is a restoration from something, it could be late 1800s, but I'm imagining early 1900. And this stuff comes to me dilapidated, and the lead is failing, and I clean them and get as close a match as I can to the glass that will effectively restore it to its original nature.
Yeah, so there's like another sequence in that process.
In that one.
So go to the next one. So that's like the kind of like the completion.
That's the completion of it, yes. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on to the next.
Did a good job. And this was done for This was a retired nun. I don't know if they ever retire.
I don't think so. I've never known a nun to
To God be
retire.
the glory. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really beautiful. I've yet to get a picture of it installed, but you see my feet standing up on my
Yeah.
bench.
And then there's another set here, so this is like in that sequence.
And this is a church I did out in Cave Junction, a beautiful little brand new white steeple church
Okay.
that they came into, and it was going into a housing community.
Oh, okay.
This church is right there, and this was a gorgeous. These are like the window in the middle is 5 foot.
Wow,
across,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have 3 different ones that they change out through the seasons.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get them all in here, I don't think.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
If you want to do that, you have to go to my website
Yeah.
to see all this
Yeah.
stuff.
All right, so
We
let's go
don't
on
have
to-
enough time.
Yeah, so let's go on to the next in this sequence. There you go.
Oh, and see, yeah, that's Jesus and the children, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of the ones. And the other one was Joseph, Mary, and the baby.
Yeah. And let's go on to the next.
And this is just the beginnings of a copper foil piece that was about 4 foot wide, and it was a hummingbird. And this is just with fuchsias. So
Okay.
this is just showing, this is part of the sequence of cutting it and placing it in the pattern or the
Right.
cartoon,
Yeah.
we call it.
Okay. And let's go on to the next.
And that is foiled. That's after it's foiled and getting ready to be soldered.
Okay. And then on to the next.
And then that's installed.
Right. Okay. And let's go on to the next one.
Okay, and that's a sunflower done for that same woman from
Yeah.
Hawaii.
Right. Okay.
And that's a Frank Lloyd Wright style for a redwood door that was going into Yosemite Park vacation home.
Wow. Okay.
And it was rough sawn, and they had made the door, and they wanted me to do that for the front door. And
Yeah.
that's actual sliced obsidian in some of those places.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
incorporated that. And that's the top of, for the casino over in Crescent City, there, yeah, the Rancheria, they call it, you know, but it's their like home base,
Yeah.
the office, the big office for the
Okay.
tribe and for Elk Valley.
Okay.
And that's over the front door, so
Yeah.
that's over 2 double doors,
Yeah.
those big.
Oh, okay. All right. And on to the next.
And that's a building in Grants Pass that's being renovated over the years, slowly but surely. And that window was totally out, and those windows were from 1926. And the original window, the other windows, I shored up and secured them so that they could withstand another 100 years,
Yeah,
you
right.
know?
Yeah.
And that's how much of it was gone. And the original lead in it was actual copper, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, which is
Right.
pretty, you know, that's pretty amazing. It was copper, and so, and I used something comparable, but not copper. And so that's me getting up there, getting all the measurements and stuff for that restoration.
Yeah. Okay.
And oh, there's a sister building here that's the same architect that did this building.
Okay.
And it used to be the Mark Anthony
Yes. right.
downtown.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
and same architect designed both buildings.
All right. So let's go on to the next.
And that's it on the bench, and that's my 8-foot bench with additions added on so that I could accommodate the window.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
On to the next.
And that's installed, and that's me sitting up there on the scaffolding.
Yeah. All right. On to the next.
Fine
Yeah.
job. And that's done for a woman. She's in Jacksonville also, and she says merchant marine. Her husband's a merchant marine, and that's in their fireplace in their bedroom, crowning it on
Oh, I
each
see.
side
Yeah.
up the chimney. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
huge. I took a picture with me so we get the gravity of the hugeness of these windows. You know? When I told you, it's like I can't bring my
Yeah.
big work, and that's a restoration of a 1920s. I'm guessing that's about 1920s window, and those bevels are all handmade, and from that era, pretty amazing. They're convex on both sides, some of them.
Yeah.
That one wasn't meant to be in here. That was just, but it's
Yeah.
up there. It is.
Yeah.
It's this one.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All righty. I think that's
We're
it.
good.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we managed to get through all those.
Yeah.
Now, you talked about restoration work as part of what you do. So how difficult is it to like try to match up old glass with modern glass when you're trying to, match things up? I imagine that, because that's got
It's
to be like a
next.
difficult.
Sometimes it's next to impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's cost prohibitive to get the glass made because
Yeah.
you have to order so much in order for them to, any of the glass factories to make that.
Right.
You'd have to order so much. It would be, yeah.
And there's no like simpler way of doing like small scale batch production, I would imagine that.
Oh, like in my work?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just didn't seem to be the path I took.
Right.
And a lot of people come to me with repairs, and I do a lot of repairs.
Yeah.
You can say repairs or restoration, but I do a lot of repairs. Sometimes people have done something, somebody they knew and loved, made them something, and it means something to them.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And so, it may be an old lamp, it may be anything, and I do that for them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, now, when someone comes to you to commission you to do a piece, it seems like most of your work tends to be on the large scale kinds of projects.
Yeah.
So,
But not necessarily right now. I'm doing a piece that's only this big for a front door.
okay.
It's of a redwood
Yeah.
with mountains in the back. And
So what's the general starting price point to commission you for, say, a small scale kind of a piece?
it's really hard to put anything to that. There's no pat price, you know. I just have this, I generalize and say if it's really Tiffany style work, because Tiffany did overlay, you've got, if you're doing painting, if you're doing fusing, if you're doing slumping to get effects, it can go up as far as what the price is per square foot, but like a real base price would be $200 a square foot.
Okay.
That's low.
Yeah.
That's low.
Right. And then if someone commissions you to on a larger scale kind of project, then where does the price start there?
On a lot, you mean, is there a break because it's certainly, of course, but it's still affected by what I can make it for.
Yeah.
And not be a starving artist.
Yeah. Right. And what's in terms of the general length of time involved in a project, like this project here, the one that's right behind us.
Yeah.
So like that is an example. What's like the time involved in something like that?
Well, it just depends on, to make that window, it could be, you could do that in a couple of days if you just stayed on it. I don't work real long hours. I'm getting on.
Yeah.
On in years. So,
Yeah.
I am, I don't know if you call it semi-retired, but I'm part-time.
Yeah.
I am part-time, but I still manage to have a lot of work come my way, and a lot of people ask for classes, and I just say, if you've got, if you can pull it together and you can bring a friend, I'll make a time for you.
Yeah.
We'll work together on our time, and I'll do that. But yeah, I don't know if did I answer?
Yeah. Well,
Sorta.
so in terms of, so you're talking 2 days to maybe a week, depending upon the pace at which you would, put into a project that size.
If you just go in a couple hours, a few hours, a few days a week,
And what would something like that cost for, in a general price range? What should someone expect for something that size?
Sometimes pieces that have been around and in my studio are different than something that I'm commissioned to do.
Yeah.
They've been around, and they would have a different sale price than maybe, which would be less than what if you're like commissioning me to do something if it's already pre-made. But I don't have a lot of pre-made work. I have a lot of work around my studio. A lot of it is my assistants, the gal that works with me. She's been doing this for a while. She's 70. And she's, so we've got a lot of her work, which is little sun catchers and stuff, which is good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. And if someone wants to contact you for commission, then how's the best way of doing that?
Go to my, you could go to my website,
Yeah.
kellyartglass.com,
Okay.
Kelley.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's,
And you got a Facebook page as well?
I do. I
Right.
do.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it's really important, if you drop the E out of the Kelley,
Yeah, that's
you get a
right.
whole nother Kelly. There's one back in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
We have some deal on our websites that.
Yeah. Actually,
that
I
if
did
you-
come across that
Yeah.
early in my research.
I think it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It has
Well,
Kelley Studios,
yeah.
and they're stained glass.
Yeah. Well, Brenda, I really much appreciate your coming on to the show.
Thank you.
To talk about your work and the art of stained glass in general. So I thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So we've reached the end of our show, Rogue Artisans and Crafters, and we wish to thank our guest Brenda Kelley for coming on to the show and for agreeing to talk about her work as a featured artist in the art of stained glass. And so I'm your host, David Glamour Dave Nienow, and we will see you next time, Road Valley. Thank you for watching Rogue Artisans and Crafters. You can watch the show on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. and Thursday evenings at 11:30 p.m. on Channel 15 in Ashland and via charter cable on Channel 182. You can watch the show on demand at rvtv.sou.edu by searching for Rogue Artisans and Crafters. You can follow our show on Facebook by visiting and liking our show page. Just search for Rogue Artisans and Crafters. You can follow David Glamour Dave Nienow on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Just search for Glamour Dave. If you like this show and wish to support David Glamour Dave Nienow and his show productions, you can visit his Patreon page at patreon.com/glamourdave to become a patron supporter. We want to thank our crew who have made it possible to put this program together, and to thank RVTV for their wonderful studio facility that allows us to produce shows such as this one. If you'd like to become a studio producer and create your own public access show, you can contact RVTV to learn how by calling 541-552-6898.